All right. Hello, my friends. I'm going to do the astrology for the week of August 21st to August 27th. And per usual, we're going to pull up the charts that we're working on. All right. And here they are. Very good. This is the beginning. In this, you will see, just as a refresher, just so you remember, and for those of you who are new, we don't use the ascendant midheaven in this type of a forecast, and we don't talk about the house placements just because everybody is in some other place. We're not all in the same place. So we're going to talk about the aspects between planets, sun, moon, and planets. And that is energy that we all have to work with, no matter what our sun sign is, moon, rising, none of that matters in this type of a forecast. Now you can add, if you know where these things play out in your astrology, in your own chart, then of course that will add more depth and richness to what you know about your own astrology. So let's get started. I always use this book, like most of you know. This is Llewellyn's Daily Calendar Guide. You can use Maynard's. Is Maynard still out there? I don't know. There's all kinds of different ones out there nowadays. And the aspects are all listed here: Eastern Time, Pacific Time. And I am on Eastern Time. So all of the times I talk about will be Eastern Time. And you can see that in the very top left-hand corner. So here we have, for the first aspect I want to talk about astrologically here is the Sun, quincunx, Pluto. And I have the word yods in here. And that's on Monday, the 21st of August, 2 in the afternoon. And the reason I say I say the word yod, and it shouldn't be plural, it should just be an individual yod, is because we have the quincunx between the Sun and Neptune on Sunday, the 20th. That's this chart, and that's part of last week's forecast. And then we come here to today, we have, it should say quincunxes, so that should be plural, not the word yod. But a yod is this, and I will show it to you here. Here and now. I'll draw it out so you're able to see what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to give you the interpretation for that. There it is. So the Sun, quincunx, Pluto, that's this chart. And on the day before today, so on the 20th, the Sun and Neptune were quincunx, and there's still quincunx here. And they create this isosceles triangle called a yod, which means it's 150 degrees on each side, all right, and 60 degrees down there. So that means Neptune and Pluto are in a sextile. They've been in a sextile since the 1940s, depending on how wide you use a sextile. So what does all of this mean? I know that was a lot of astrology, and if you're brand new and you're just coming in, I don't always start off with that much astrology. What it means, let me tell you what it means. So when we have these planets, the Sun at the apex of this configuration, labeled a yod, called a yod, what it represents is, where we're feeling that Sun in Leo, the very end of Leo, that we want to be creative. We have a lot of passion in our lives. We're really feeling this centeredness around, just living our lives and living our passion. However, with it making that quincunx aspect over to Pluto, there needs to be adjustments, and we're not sure exactly what it is that we're doing because Neptune leaves us a little foggy. So not in those true words, in a sense, like what we don't know what we're doing. We do know what we're doing, but we're not sure of the results and the consequences of what we're doing because we're constantly feeling unsure about the steps that we're taking. And that's just the way we're all going to feel. We can feel secure and sure in other areas of life. But right now, with this, making this connection and this connection, we're really having a difficult time figuring out exactly what it is that we want out of our lives. So taking things one step at a time, following some rules, following some regulations, but then just making those adjustments as you see fit. When you've made a decision about something, just recognize that it's not like cut in stone. All right, because those quincunxes that create this configuration called the yod is always about making adjustments. We never feel like we've made the right decision, right? Even though it's the right decision for that moment in time. Yeah. And Mercury is just about retrograde. Well, that's coming up. That's 2 more days, but it's pretty stationary right now. It's really not moving past those 21 degrees because that is where it retrogrades at 21 degrees. So it's pretty stationary too. So if you're feeling the need and you're feeling like things, you want things to be moving forward, especially Sunday into Monday, just cut yourself some slack, I guess is the best thing I would say. I would cut myself some slack so I would feel a little less pressure on myself. These are my notes. So here's a yod down to there. That is, again, a configuration of 2 quincunxes. And let me grab another color. And I can also see that there's another yod in here just at this moment in time. And that's with the moon. It makes a quincunx to Neptune, and it's sextile to the sun. So there's another yod. So there's 2 yods here, considered called a double yod key. And that's probably why I have the word yod still. It's not in my notes, it's just in my head. So we have, I know this is a mess. This is hard to start off with, just looking at all of this. But in a nutshell, recognize the fact that Mercury is stationary. We have 2 yods. Yods are not about things flowing at all. But if we can just take the baby steps we need to focus, to hone in, that is the most important thing that we can do with these configurations going on August 20th and August 21st. We'll feel it right into the 22nd as well. But there are 2 other aspects going on the 22nd. So let's go into that. Now, the first one is this one, and this is Venus square Jupiter. Now, Venus square Jupiter, this has already happened one time before because Venus is retrograde. And, excuse me, that was on June 11th. So on June 11th, Venus was already done that, and Venus was direct, Jupiter direct. So that was, I want you to go back to that point and look at Venus and Jupiter related things. I'm going to tell you what they are. When you look at, maybe you made a decision to make a big purchase. Venus and Leo can say, oh, I want to redecorate, even though things are fine, but you want to spend money and redecorate anyways because it makes you feel good. Or you've decided that you need a new vehicle, not because yours is broken, but just because you want to upgrade. Things like that. And I'm talking about these things from a perspective of luxury, or what we value, or, it's about the things we think are beautiful. It's not necessarily the things we have to have. Like if your car's broken and you have to buy a new car, that is understandable. Do the best you can to keep that within your means, especially right now, if that's what's going on. Mine is on its last leg. I'm going to squeeze that out until October. Let me tell you, I want to get out of Venus retrograde so I don't overspend on something. And I want to wait till Mercury is done. It's retrograding because I just don't want to buy a car during Mercury retrograde. I'm a Gemini. Mercury's my ruler. It's not a good idea for me to do that, right? We'll talk about those things in a minute. So go back to June. I don't recall anything personally. You go back and you look and see what was happening for you right around June 11th. Any big purchases, any big ideas or promotions, or just these types of things, because what was going on then is coming back, because, then again, more about being extravagant. Let me read my notes. I want you to be cautious with your spending. I don't want you to be overindulgent. And if you were back then, that's the way it goes. However, now is when you pay the price, or now is when you see the bill comes in, or now is when you've made commitments and you can't keep them. It's that type of a thing because Venus is retrograde. And while Venus is one of the benefic, as well as Jupiter, even when they're in a hard aspect like a square, it still says, oh, well, I guess I can pay this off, but now I've got a big credit card bill or whatever. The interest is too high, whatever, that will vary from person to person. And also the details of that will depend on your own life circumstances, right? And if you know your astrology chart and you can see where these 2 planets are, you can see, what's going on. Did you bite off more than you can chew? Financially, we should speak about relationships too. In a relationship, have you made a commitment you wished you hadn't? Somebody commits something to you and now they're taking it back. This retrograde, Venus retrograde is a bit tricky these days. She's in a new phase now. She's starting her whole new 19-month cycle since August 13th. So, but as a retrograde planet, it's going to take a little time for her to become a morning star and a little time for her to get her feet underneath her. So those are the things that we have with that Venus square Jupiter. I know that was a lot, but some of the days in this week have no planetary aspects, so we won't talk about them. All right. And also on the 22nd, this is about 4:30 in the afternoon, Eastern time zone, Mars is opposite Neptune. So where is that? Here's Mars at 26 Virgo, opposite Neptune at 26 Pisces. And so this is like Mars in Virgo is absolutely about moving with those details and really taking a lot of action. It's like putting together something very intricate. Mars is driven to get it done. I mean, you can look at something as simple as making a puzzle, all those little pieces, and you just want to get it done. To me, that's not so pleasurable if you're forcing yourself to get something done. But use another analogy. Is it a job? There's a project. There's a deadline. Look at that, Mercury stationary. It's only 5 degrees away, so they are conjunct, but not by much. Mercury stationary. And then Mars opposite Neptune is the main point of this chart. So getting lost in the details. Mercury stationary means we're not getting all the details. Something is, on the days that it's stationary, this is one of those days, we feel like we're stuck and there's not much we can do. Remember on Sunday and Monday, we had these yods in the sky, and they were, that the sun is still right there in that quincunx with Pluto still. It makes things very difficult. So, hey, not for everybody, because if you can flow with a lot of crap going on around you, then this isn't going to interfere with you. But this is absolutely a representation of what's going on in the world around us, where there's a lot of discord, a lot of choices and actions being taken, but we're not sure what the outcome is going to be. All right. So we feel there's not enough energy to do what we need to do because that Neptune will soften the effects of Mars in Virgo in that opposition. So we'll go back and forth between details and a lack of details and trying to go with the flow. But Mercury stationary also says, no, we're not going to we're going to just put all the brakes on, take a deep breath, and then we'll figure out what's next. But in this fast-paced world, people will be pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's really hard when that happens. Okay. So if you feel the frustration, feel it and do what you can. And that to me is a way that we use the astrology. Know that it will most likely be a frustrating day for many people, not everybody, but for many people. And you have a heads up on that. So you get an opportunity to take your time to work with what you can and process it in the best way possible and know that it might not work out. However, I just hear this in my head too, knowing all of these transits, because it's not just one thing, it's the combination of things. This is what we have to look at with astrology. Like I know in my YouTube shorts, I only focus on one tiny short little thing because that's what they're about. But when we go deeper here in Patreon, the point is like we're trying to look at the whole picture, or at least more than just one thing, even though I've still picked one thing. And that chart that I just was talking about with the yods, Mars in opposite Neptune and Mercury stationary, and the sun at the last degree of Leo on that day. Here, we'll just go back to that chart, the 5th chart I have up. That is a lot of things going on all at once. But the one thing I really hear here is if you like working under pressure, really like working under pressure, this is a deadline. This can feel like a deadline to some people who don't do well under pressure. And some people do well under pressure. That's when they do their best work. So again, this is not a disaster, but if you don't like pressure, it's going to be tough for a couple of days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But if you don't mind pressure, then this will help you to really hone in on whatever it is you're working on, whatever is currently influencing your life. All right, and now we're into August 23rd. The sun enters Virgo now. This is the moment it enters Virgo. It's the last zodiac sign of the summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, and the last zodiac sign for the winter if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. This is another nod to Virgo, since we have the sun, Mercury, and Mars in Virgo. You know, this is these opportunities of let's start making our list. Let's start pulling things back together. Let's start being a bit more mutable. There are other people that we need to make plans with. That's a mutable sign of Virgo. So pulling all of those things together, which is really, really important for us to do. Yeah. And so let's work with that. And that's the first thing. And then here's Mercury still stationary. The sun enters Virgo at 5:02 a.m. Eastern time. And then Mercury retrogrades at 4 p.m. And look, it's up here now because the Earth has spun. That's Earth spinning. Why it looks like the planets are moving. They are moving, but the Earth is spinning faster than the planets are moving. And so here they are, right up here. Here's Mercury stationary, 2151 degrees. All right, let me grab my notes about Mercury retrograde. And so they're way over here. So with Mercury retrograde, I'm doing a talk about that the day after I record this. So that's why I have other notes. With Mercury retrograde for the next 3 weeks, and that is August 23rd through September 15th. 21 Virgo all the way back to 8. So find that in your own astrology, figure out what that means to you. But Virgo is hardworking, right? And Mercury rules Virgo, but in the rulership sector of things, it's also considered exalted in that sign, meaning it's ruling and it's exalted. It loves this. It is so happy in the sign of Virgo. So while it's retrograde and it's not the end of the world, this can give us, again, that opportunity to work well under pressure. And the reason I say that is just because, I got to write that down. Working well under pressure is something that we can look at when Mercury is stationary in the sign of Virgo. All right. Now, with it retrograde, we can find those opportunities to slow down and be incredibly precise and really analyze what we've been working on, right? The shadow phase of this, meaning, to me, I mean, I don't think the shadow phase or the retrograde, everything has to go wrong, because that's not the truth. I think with Mercury taking, 7+ weeks to move through a sign, I think this time it's around 10 weeks for it to move through a sign, when it usually, when it's not retrograde, it takes 3 weeks, 2.5 to 3 weeks. That is an opportunity for us to really focus, which is wonderful. So August 3rd, it's in shadow, it's retrograde August 23rd. It leaves retrograde September 15th, and it's out of shadow September 30th. And in that time frame, and especially the retrograde, August 23rd to September 15th, is really where we can absolutely do a lot of discerning, a lot of analyzing, and being incredibly precise. This is fabulous. This is when I'm going to be putting together more classes, I hope. I'm so busy doing this, I love this part, that I haven't really had a whole lot of time to put together classes. And I really want to put together some individual classes about different subjects. And I might do it during the retrograde if I can find the time, because that will help me to be more precise, and then it will help you to be more precise. And where is this in your own astrology chart, right? Where is it for you? And if you need to know these things, then you can have a session. You can book that on my website. And so that's what we have going on with this, is paying attention to those details. And this is the day that it starts. So August 20, 21, 22, 23 might feel frustrating, but if you are somebody who loves working under pressure, fantastic for you. You love this. All right. Now, moving on. We're moving on to Thursday, the 24th. And on Thursday, the 24th, is the first quarter moon. So that's when the sun and the moon are square. And it's a waxing square. All right. And we talk about this a lot in my lunar gestation cycle stuff. When we're at, excuse me again, when we're at a square, that first square, it's in Sagittarius. And so that is about play, having fun. That's Sagittarius. It's also about exploring life, expanding knowledge, being honest and truthful, being authentic to yourself. Mutable fire. So there's a lot of energy with this. Now, 9 months ago, we had a new moon right in this very same area. And that's the lunar gestation cycle. So I am going to go back to that. Let's go here. And you get to see how to use solar fire a little bit if you're brand new here. And then we're going to go to lunar phase. We're going to make sure I have the right chart marked up, and I do. Going to hit current, make sure it says lunar phase in progress. Here we are. And so what we have, here's that first quarter I'm talking about, August 24th, at 1 degree of Sagittarius. When did we start this cycle? We started this cycle. Lunar gestation cycle is 3 years long. This is one of those classes I've been threatening to teach for a couple of years now. The lunar gestation cycle is 3 years long, but it always starts with a new moon. And at every new moon, we're planting seeds, and we're putting out our hopes, our dreams, our wishes, our intentions. But we're not sure what's gonna bloom and what's gonna blossom, what's gonna sprout. That's a better word. We're not sure exactly what's gonna sprout, because sometimes we wish and hope and dream and intend, and it's not what's in alignment with who we are, where we are, and what we're focusing on, even though we think we want something. So I want you to go back November 23rd, 2022. Oh, I was really sick on that day. I got sick right then. That's when I caught the COVID for the first time. Kicked my ass for 2 months. Life. And so I don't think I started anything new there. So I don't know what I was doing, but I mean, I know what I was doing, but what were you initiating back then? I can look back and see, since I was ill and I was under the weather, obviously I was just unconscious for a couple of days and then slowly came back out of it. And what did I gain from that? I'll have to sit and contemplate, what was important for me then. And I want you to do the same thing. Look at your notes, look at your new moon rituals, look at the things that you initiated or started in that time frame at 0 degrees of Sagittarius on November 23rd, 2022. And why I ask you to do that, let me just hit quit. And we'll go back to the last image. There we are. Because this first quarter moon is going to show us what we initiated and began. Now, again, we don't have to have begun. I didn't begin anything then. I had no intentions of anything because I was just sleeping, right? My only intention was hopefully getting enough fluids in me. I live alone, so, nobody was knocking on my door saying, can I get you anything? I was sick. And so I didn't have time for any of this new moon stuff. And so I didn't do anything, but I want you to look at, what you may have initiated. And again, not every new moon is important to every single person, every single cycle. But that aside, come back to right now, this first quarter, it's just a week from the last new moon we just had. All right. Because that's a whole different cycle. The monthly cycle, that's just 29 days. What did you start a week ago? And has something, if it was something quick and easy, has something manifested right now? And if it has, then now is the time that you focus on it and you work on it. I'm going to move on. I know sometimes that can be complicated. Okay. And then, oh, I missed a chart. I missed an event here. And I never recreated that chart. And so we're going to do that now. And this is Mars trine Pluto. And that's going on at, what I would do is, here, we'll just do this. I'm going to just do it. I'm going to create a chart. I'm going to create the chart. And you're going to see me do it. Mars, trine, fat fingers, trine Pluto. And that is the 24th. So we'll go a couple more days here. Good job. 8:23, 8:23 p.m. And we just hit all of those and we hit okay. And it's an event, but we're not going to worry about that. And we'll go right here and we'll look at the chart with the declinations and everything in here. I haven't been paying attention to any of them, but right now we will. So here's Mars trine Pluto. Now this is big. I mean, I like this one, you know, and it's not Mars trine. Yeah, it is. It's a grand trine. We've already yeah, there we go. That's why I didn't put it in there. Mars trine Pluto is right there. Okay, Mars trine Pluto. These two guys, one's the ruler, one's the co-ruler of Scorpio, right? Mars is the co-ruler of Scorpio. And when these guys come together, but this is a nice earth trine. So this feels incredibly driven is what this is. This is super driven, right? I already discussed Mars in Virgo. It's like we really have the drive to accomplish a lot. But remember, we have some of those hurdles to get over that I've already talked about. So the sun, the Mars trine Pluto feels it's very driven, it's very powerful, big opportunities to get into those details and to really make some permanent changes wherever this is. Like, look where Pluto is, honestly, because that's where he's digging in at that 27, 28, 29, 0 Aquarius, 27, 28, right? And then back to, so he's going back and forth across 27, 28, 29 degrees 5 times. And this is, my phone was up high. And so this is, let me turn it down. And this was a big point where I want you to look at where that is in your own chart and where Pluto is in your own chart. So you're able to see the activation of Mars. So for me, that's my midheaven, right? My midheaven's 27 Capricorn, 28 Capricorn. And so Mars is making a trine to my midheaven. Pluto's on my midheaven. Where's Pluto for you? What is slowly making this deep evolution, what is changing, what is transforming? Look back the last couple of years and just see how that thing, whether it's a house placement or if Pluto is conjunct a planet in your chart, how that has slowly changed. And it will continue to change until Pluto is out of Capricorn. And the Mars in Virgo will give you the insight and the ideas and just let you know what it is that you're doing that feels right, what feels unsustainable, because you may even get overwhelmed with the details. What is sustainable and what isn't for your current life situation. All right. And when you recognize that, or you spend some time doing that, that's just how we can really take astrology to a much deeper level for ourselves personally, where you use this energy or where it is in your own chart and recognizing what's going on there, it will give you deeper changes that are lifelong, that will last the rest of your life. And that's what that represents there. So let me clear all those drawings and find the chart I was back on. And there it is. Okay, first quarter. And now we're going to move on to Sunday, because Friday and Saturday, there are no exact aspects. So, and this is running long already. So let's go on to the 27th. If you want to see what those days that I don't talk about are about, I'll create some 60-second shorts about them. It's mainly about the moon and all of those things. I think I just created those today, actually. All right. So on this day, we have a couple things. Actually, I want to talk about the chart before Mars ingress. Here's the sun opposite Saturn. So we do have that going on. Let me get my face out of the way here. We have the sun opposite Saturn. The sun is in Virgo, early Virgo. So that's beautiful. Mercury's the ruler of that sun right now. And it is opposite Saturn. Sun-Saturn opposition isn't always the easiest thing. It's like a tug of war between the details and reality and fantasy. And so there's like this tug of war between, is it practical? Is it practical? That's the Virgo. Is it logical? That's Saturn. Is it mystical? That's Pisces. Is it grounded? That's Virgo. When I see this, one of the things I think of would be like somebody who is involved in yoga, because yoga, the Virgo Pisces opposition is very much embodies yoga, because Virgo is the physical body, our health and our wellness, and yoga, and that's yoga, but the spiritual piece of it is Pisces. So when I see the sun in Virgo opposite Saturn in Pisces, this is the first time we've had this since Saturn's been in Pisces, is this opposition. I feel that, especially you yogis out there, I know there's quite a few of you who watch this, and this is really you feeling very secure and confident and grounded in your spiritual practice and your physical spiritual practice of yoga. All right. And for you and me, I don't do yoga, but I do a lot of stretching. But other ways we could use this is taking, finding a way to really get in tune with the body, right? The body, Virgo, rules the overall health and wellness of who we are. And the sun represents our life, their life force at this moment in time. So this tells me too that it could be a struggle, but we can also have an awareness around taking and paying attention to our health, our wellness, our food, what we ingest. Is it healthy enough for you? Are you getting enough nutrition? All of those things. That is something that's super important. And I think it's fantastic. And then the last thing for this week is the sun, the moon. No, not that either. It's not the sun. It's not the moon. It's Mars entering Libra. There we go. Mars enters Libra. It's not a great placement for it, because why? Because Mars likes Aries. Mars is the ruler of Aries. And when any planet is in the opposite sign of the one it rules, it's considered detrimental. And honestly, guys, I get those backwards. So let me go double check. Is it detrimental? Yes, it is. It's in its detriment, because sometimes it's in its fall. I can't remember. I forget which one is which sometimes, but it's detrimental. And when it's in its detriment, that means it's going to take a little extra energy. It's going to take a little extra attention to make it work as best it can. Mars is always about just thinking about just go, go, go. Just like a 2-year-old, they don't think about what's around them. They just want something, they go for it. They don't know any better. And it's beautiful, it's innocent, it's pure. They just go and they don't think of others. However, it's in Libra, and whatever a planet is in a sign, a planet has its own energy, and it has to filter its energy through that zodiac sign. And as it filters its energy, it has to filter its energy through Libra. And Libra is about thinking about the other. It's about fairness. It's about, balance and harmony. And so, being that this isn't a great idea, this is more difficult because we're looking to find that balance, that harmony, that insight, and we're driven to do that. And so this can actually help us. We can be argumentative because we want to fight for what we want. We can fight for our partners, which is a positive thing, and for relationships, right? And I say fight, but and I don't mean fisticuffs, but some people might. This is warring energy for people who use it in a low vibration. But for others who use it in a higher vibration, we can use this in a way where we can have really good, healthy conversations and debates, where we can find the balance between what two of us need, what two people need, and on that goes. Now, Mars on October 4th, let me look at my notes. Here it is. On October 4th, which is a long time away, but Mars will reach, and the nodes and Mars will come together. And we'll talk about that then. But with Mars in the sign of the lunar, the transiting lunar south node right now, that's also going to stir up a lot around relationships. And is your relationship the way you need it to be, right? Are your partnerships what you want them? Now, not every relationship and every partnership is going to go through the ringer. That's not the case. But if there's something that you've been just delaying, putting off, not wanting to deal with, all of those mean the same thing, right? Then with Venus retrograde, she's the ruler of Libra, and she's retrograde all the way to September 3rd. So we're still going to be feeling the reverberations of that for quite some time. Probably the whole time Mars is moving through Libra, and even the whole time that those lunar nodes are moving through the Aries Libra opposition. So Mars in a pseudo way is representing where the lunar nodes are right now, because Mars rules Aries, north node is Aries, Mars is in Libra, south node is in Libra. So we're really going to be, over the next few weeks, a couple of months, because Mars takes about 8 weeks to move through a sign, definitely will be stirring up our equilibrium when it comes to partners, relationships, and things like that, which is fine, because some of us don't like change. And when things are stagnant, we don't want to change. And these transits, these aspects, really push things. And they say, hello, you're here to learn and grow. Doesn't feel good some days, does it? All right. I'm going to leave us with that. Thank you, guys. And I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. You are the reason I'm here, and you help me to maintain my life with your financial support here. Thank you so much. Blessings, everybody. Namaste.